Scrawny drew a shotgun from under the counter, while Riff and Raph came scrambling forward. Magazine and Karl locked gazes, staring each other down. "You're one of those fucking wulfen, aren't you?" Magazine was more intelligent, holding back. The other three kept edging closer, exuding a desperate odor, sharp with sweat. Karl kept Scrawny in the corner of his gaze, ready to leap out of the line of fire. A load of silver shot was not a pleasant way to die. "You know the fiends who attacked my clan?" Magazine grimaced, fists clenched at his side. His voice dropped an octave, but remained calm. "The beast calls us fiends. We were just defending our families. The age-old reason for war between the races, protecting one's family. It would never fail to inspire, because it needed so little justification. Every race needed to defend itself, overlooking the extremes taken." Karl wasn't going to get into an argument. He growled, changing to true wulfen form. Scrawny fired, and Karl lunged as his body shifted. His vision distorted, and his reactions were temporarily off, but taking his true form was easier than any other change. Scrawny's first shot had gone way wide. The second was much closer. The slug tore apart a display near Karl's head. Plastic bits and puffed corn snacks pelted him, drawing his attention off Magazine. Scrawny cracked open the gun, paling as he tried to reload the double-barrel shotgun. Karl roared, the terrible sound filling the store. He was lean and wiry in wolfman form, much like his human form. Though smaller than many in his clan, he still towered over the four humans. Razor-sharp claws crooked, he lunged for Scrawny. Riff and Raph were charging, wielding silver bowie knives. They swung at Karl, but the wulfen was already over the counter, claws impaling the proprietor. Scrawny shrieked, blood sprayed, and Karl snarled. He didn't frenzy. Karl was fully in control of his actions. He ripped Scrawny's collarbones out, throwing the man to the floor. Blood scent filled his nostrils as the shrieks rose higher. One man down, he gave his attention to Riff and Raph. Raph vaulted the counter, heedless of how quickly Scrawny had been decimated. Karl grabbed the man's knife arm and gave a quick wrench, tearing muscles. Raph howled in pain, and Karl tore his throat out. Riff threw his knife with a grunt. 4 inches of silver embedded itself in his side. Karl roared again, in pain and surprise, lashing out. His long arm easily bridged the gap, batting Riff aside in a gush of blood. Breathing heavily, Karl reached for the knife. He was too full of adrenaline and battle-lust to feel the pain yet, but he would. Soon. Magazine leapt onto the counter, kicking the knife, driving it deeper into wulfen flesh. Karl howled, surprised to have a real opponent. He rounded on the final man and came face to face with a silver-plated pistol. This man knew how to fight wulfen. Karl stared at the gun, panting and snarling. Magazine's aim was steady, muzzle directly between the wulfen's eyes. Karl would have the narrowest margin to escape death. Magazine blinked, and Karl took his chance. He dodged left, batting the gun to the right. Wulfen were agile and fast, and Karl was no exception. The gun barked, heat singeing fur, the muzzle flare temporarily blinding him. He'd managed to escape unharmed. Then Karl felt the blood and pain. His opponent tried to bring the gun around, and Karl swiped at his arms. Magazine tumbled off the counter, firing again, and hit the ground hard. Karl followed the human, aware of the blood spurting from Magazine's arm. Even if the wulfen didn't finish him, Magazine was done for. Not that Karl ever left a wounded enemy behind. Magazine got off one more shot as Karl landed. The silver bullet tore a furrow in his calf, the pain searing every nerve. Roaring, the wulfen clamped jaws onto Magazine's head, crunching down. Blood spurted, and bone chips scratched his gums. Karl shook his head, tearing the dead man's skull free. He roared and called out his triumph, claws gouging the floor. 4 more dead humans. It wasn't enough to avenge his clan, but it was a start. Elation ended in a rush of agony and fever. Adrenaline had kept the silver poisoning at bay, allowed him to finish his task, but the fight was over. Grunting, shaking, Karl managed to pull the bowie knife from his side. Blood gushed, but he felt a moment of relief. The poisoning wasn't bad yet. None of the deadly metal remained in his flesh, meaning he would start healing if he could rest. A store full of dead hunters was not the most secure place. Vision swimming as his fever increased, Karl left, racing across the countryside. He was on his last legs when Jenny opened her back door. Whining once, Karl collapsed in her arms. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed, please hit the like button. Don't forget to subscribe, share with others. Social media links are below in the description. See you next time.